Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, back in today with another fantasy football video. Today's video is Week 5 running back start or sit decisions. I'm going to go through every single matchup and every single notable fantasy player at the running back position, tell you to start or sit that player. But before we get into that, I'd like to give you guys a word from my friends over at OverlayDFS.com. I love the website. I love playing on it. So here's the roll now. Tired of having to pick the perfect player at every single position in order to win at salary cap DFS? Are you tired of having your salary cap lineup out of the running to win money in the first 5 minutes? Does playing salary cap DFS feel like a job and not even a game? Want a fantasy game where pros with 150 lineups and computer generated games can't dominate? OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start-sit game for fantasy sports. They are the home of the single-entry GPP. How do you play? It is a simple start-sit format. Make 12 start-sit decisions from the 30-plus matchup presented, like you can see on my screen right now. A win, loss, or tie will be awarded to your overall record for each decision. Records of the top 10% of users win 9 times your buy-in. 12-0 records win GTD progressive bonus. All matchups are player versus player. Who will have the most fantasy points? Usually, an 8-4 record is good enough to get that cash. Sometimes 7-5, other times 9-3, depending on the week. Make 12 picks on the matchup options listed. For example, in Week 5, it could be Cooper Kupp versus Todd Gurley, Adam Thielen versus Stephon Diggs, Carson Wentz versus Tom Brady, and many, many more. The object is to stay consistent and finish in the top 10% of the field to win 9 times your buy-in until the stars align and you go that beautiful 12-0. Right now, if you go the perfect 12-0 in the $109 game, you'd win the progressive bonus of over 26 big once, $26,000. They have buy-ins at all levels. If no one hits that perfect 12-0, the progressive bonus keeps growing and will roll over until it gets hit. It's like the super contest, but for DFS. Do not get shut out. Visit www.overlaydfs.com today. And we are Week 5 running back start or sits. Let's get right into this. All right. Rams at Seahawks, the Thursday night football game. We're going to be starting up Mr. Todd Gurley of the Rams in this game. Now, I know last week he barely got any touches, caught some passes, but he scored 2 touchdowns off of little touches. Now, I believe that this week against the Seahawks, he's going to be getting more touches. That game seemed to be more of a pass-heavy game between the Rams and the Buccaneers. Obviously, it was a very high-scoring game. I think this week, it could still be a high-scoring game, but a game where we could see the running backs used. That's why I like also starting Chris Carson as well. The Rams defense got eviscerated by Ronald Jones, and like Chris Carson's 90 times better than Ronald Jones. So basically, I think that Chris Carson is going to do good against the Rams defense. It's impossible to bench Chris Carson or Todd Gurley unless they're in a brutal matchup, and this is just not one of those. Now, I know Rashad Penny is coming back, but he is still a sit for me. Next game here is the Jets at the Eagles, and we're going to be starting up Le'Veon Bell in this game for the Jets. Now, I know a lot of people are off of Le'Veon Bell. They're talking about how Luke Falk sucks, and I agree, he does suck. But you know what he doesn't suck at doing? Dumping the ball off to Le'Veon 11 goddamn times. Le'Veon Bell may touch the ball 3,000 times in this game, just getting the ball dumped off to him. Now, if you're not in a PPR league, I would be scared to start him against the Eagles because he may get absolutely smashed into next year. But in a PPR league, I think he may see 10 targets or 10 receptions in this game, which will completely cancel out the fact that he may get fucking destroyed every time he touches the ball. Now, on the Eagles side, Miles Sanders is an end. I think I would start him. The Jets defense hasn't looked all that amazing, but what I do think is that Miles Sanders is going to get more usage than Jordan Howard. We saw last week Jordan Howard scored 2 touchdowns. I think he scored 3 touchdowns. He scored an absurd amount of touchdowns for no fucking reason. It's not going to happen again this week. Miles Sanders should be getting a lot of that work. And Jordan Howard's got the times too, because you're really relying on the touchdown for Jordan Howard. Do I think Jordan Howard's going to end up hopping in the end zone? Probably not. But, I mean, he could end up, if they get on the 1-yard line, they just run Jordan Howard in there 3 times. So I would start him, but this has to be like a super deep league or like a league where you have 2 or 3 flexes. Then you can start Jordan Howard. If not, I would just let him ride the pine. Next game here is the Jaguars at the Panthers. Now, this should be pretty obvious to you. For the Panthers, you're obviously going to start Mr. Christian McCaffrey, run CMC. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the league. Probably going to get 1,000 rush, 1,000 receiving yards. He's fucking amazing. Leonard Fournette, on the other hand, rushed 3,000 yards last week, 200 plus yards. Looked amazing out there. Now, the Panthers' rush defense is okay, but they may be able to bottle up Leonard Fournette. You may say that the same thing for Christian McCaffrey. Oh, the Jaguars' run defense is pretty good. Maybe they'll stop Christian McCaffrey. I don't believe so. It's possible to stop Christian McCaffrey, unless you're like the Bears. Leonard Fournette will be able to run all over the Bears. He should have a pretty good game as well. Next game here is the Vikings at the New York Football Giants. Dalvin Cook is an obvious start. No matter what defense he plays against, he will make that defense look like a fool. He is absolutely destroying every single defense that he plays against and makes it look easy. Do I think that Dalvin Cook's the number one running back on this week? No, but I do think that against the Giants defense that is pretty fucking bad, he should be able to run all over them, and I like him this week. Now, Wayne Gallman, on the other hand, he's got the next to him because I don't really know if I want to play him against the Vikings rush defense. Now, the Vikings defense is pretty solid. We saw David Montgomery get kind of screwed last week by the defense, but Wayne Gallman, probably a worse talent than David Montgomery, but I think he will get a lot of that usage. Maybe they will be able to actually pass the ball into the red zone, something that the Bears could not do last week with Chase Daniel, I believe, is the quarterback. Wayne Gallman should be very okay this week. I mean, like, he's a flex option at best, or running back too. If you got Saquon knocked the fuck out, you got to play Wayne Gallman. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he's more of a flex option. The next game here is the Falcons at the Texans. Now, we're going to be starting Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman had a much better game last week. People were calling for Dan Quinn's job. People are still calling for Dan Quinn's job because the Falcons just can't win a goddamn game. But I will still start Devontae Freeman against the Texans. The Texans defense doesn't look amazing. I think that he may be able to run through them. Now, for the Texans, we're going to be starting Carlos Hyde. Now, I know you really probably don't even want to start Carlos Hyde because all he's going to do is score you 9 points. So if you're in a deep league, you just start him, score you your 9 points, get on with it. But otherwise, you don't want anything to do with Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson either. Duke Johnson had a good week last week, had a pretty good week 1. Hasn't really played all that consistent, so I don't really want to start him against the Falcons. Now, Ito Smith scored last week. People will be talking about, oh my god, Ito Smith is going to be fucking great. Ito Smith is going to do this. Ito Smith is going to do that. Some people will probably believe that. Don't start Ito Smith. He is not going to be good this week. Next game here, we have the Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. The game where Jameis Winston originally ate that W. We're going to be starting Alvin Kamara in this game. Lights Kamara action is going to be firing at all cylinders this game against the Buccaneers defense. I know Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback of the team, but Alvin Kamara still a good running back, especially against a putrid. Say that 5 times fast. Sally something seashore. You know what I'm saying? Alvin Kamara going to do good against the Buccaneers. Now, Ronald Jones is a start, but I didn't even put the next to him. But, I mean, his name just exudes because he's just You don't really fucking love Ronald Jones. Last week, he performed. Week 1, I believe, he also performed. I am very, 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 very scared to start him because at the end of the day, it may end up being the Peyton Barber show. At the end of the day, it could be the Dare Umalagaga game. I just don't know how to pronounce that guy's fucking last name, and it's fucking complicated. But all I'm saying is that it may be the Peyton Barber show. Ronald Jones is a start because I think that the Saints defense ain't all that good, and he could definitely eat. Now, I am going to be sitting Peyton Barber, like I said, who really knows, and Latavius Murray, can't really start him unless Alvin Kamara was to go down. Next game here is the Buffalo Bills at the Tennessee Titans. Now, this could get a bit complicated here because the Bills, if Devin Singletary is to come back, in my opinion, you just sit Singletary and Frank Gore. You just sit both of them and you just don't worry about this game. If Devin Singletary is out, then you play Frank Gore. Frank Gore looked amazing against an amazing New England Patriots defense. He looked great last week. The ageless wonder. One of the best running backs in the NFL history, obviously, yards-wise, he's fucking good. Derrick Henry, on the other hand, is playing against a Bills defense that has looked strong against the run, but I do think Derrick Henry will be able to get it done through sheer volume. Next game here is the Cardinals at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, you're going to be starting Joe Mixon for the Bengals, obviously. He hasn't really looked all that good the past couple of weeks. He scores like 10 points every single game. You're just disappointed. But at the end of the day, I think against a terrible Cardinals defense, Joe Mixon will finally be able to get it done for all of us who drafted him in the first or second round. Now, David Johnson for the Cardinals, you just roll him out every single week. He's probably going to be a top 10 back every single week. He's an RB1 against the Cardinals. What the hell am I even saying? Against the Cincinnati Bengals that seem to let James Conner and Jalen Samuels run a train through them, I think that David Johnson should have an easy road to scoring that touchdown, getting into the promised land. Next game here, we have the New England Deflatriots at the Redskins. Now, you're going to be starting Sony Michel. I mean, Sony Michel has the next to him because who really knows with Sony Michel? Is he going to get in the end zone? Then you're happy. If he doesn't get in the end zone, you're fucking crying in the corner because Sony Michel just dropped something into your drink and he just screws you over. Sony Michel is a guy that I am scared about starting every single week. The Redskins defense sucks, so you're going to have to start him. You're going to have to start him against the Redskins, but he's got the because he is worrisome. Now, James White, he doesn't have to worry about scoring these touchdowns because they're just going to dump the ball off to him, and maybe he'll even end up scoring a touchdown. Sony Michel is obviously a great option in PPR. Now, you're also going to be starting Chris Thompson, but he's got the because the Redskins defense, and the Patriots defense, I should say, is very, 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 very fucking good. Chris Thompson may end up getting bottled up behind the line of scrimmage, but like I said, he's a pass-catching back. He is going to get those passes thrown his way. He's been scoring 10 plus points every single game. I feel pretty confident in him this week. You're going to be seeing down AP. Now, AP's old ass is not going to be able to do anything against the Patriots. He's going to get bottled up, fucking like some champagne and get destroyed in the backfield. Next game here, we have the Ravens at the Steelers. The fucking, all the records go out the window, as they like to say. It's an AFC North matchup. The Ravens at the Steelers, not the matchup you're typically looking at, the Joe Flacco versus Big Ben. It is the Lamar Jackson versus Mason Rudolph matchup. Now, you are going to be starting Mark Ingram of the Ravens. The Ravens are a run-heavy team. Mark Ingram didn't really do all that much last week. The week before that against Kansas City, he ran a train on them. The Steelers' defense is not all that good. I mean, I know that they held the Bengals to a low-scoring game, but that was the Bengals they were playing against. Mark Ingram should be able to run pretty decently against the Steelers. Now, on the other hand, we have James Conner on the other side of the field. James Conner looked to be banged up. I think that he will obviously play this game, but that's obviously something to note when you're thinking about playing him. Now, he did end up scoring. Him and Jalen Samuels split the touches. So that's why Jalen Samuels is also a start, because if they're splitting 60-40 James Conner's way, Jalen Samuel could hop in the end zone, and they are running a lot of these weird plays where they just snap it straight to Jalen Samuels, or Jalen Samuels throws the balls, playing quarterback, all this shit. But Jalen Samuels should be an okay flex play this week. James Conner should still be fine to be your RB1 or RB2 starter. Next game here, we have the Bears at the Oakland Raiders. Now, you don't want anything to do with Josh Jacobs in this game. The Bears defense, unless you are Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, one of those elite tier running backs, in my opinion, you do not want to be starting them against the Bears. Josh Jacobs will probably get bottled up. Knock on wood if you're with me. Knock one time if you are with me as well. Josh Jacobs won't be all that good this week. That's why he's a sit. Now, David Montgomery is a start, but he's more of a flex type option in my opinion. The Raiders defense is terrible, so they will be in the red zone more. I think as long as David Montgomery gets all the touches that he's been getting, the Raiders are a good matchup for him to exploit and score that beautiful touchdown that we all want. I am confident in him this week, though, as a flex RB2 type of deal. Now, Tariq Cohen is a sit. I don't know what to do with Tariq Cohen. Maybe if he starts running out of the slot, catching balls like it's his goddamn job, instead he's recording. Never mind. That was a joke about how he was recording Chris Long's balls. That was the joke I was going to make, but I did just end up making it. Or whatever his name is. Kyle Long might be his name, the player of the Bears. But Tariq Cohen hasn't looked all that great, but I do think at the end of the day, he's definitely still a sit. Unless you're really fucked, I just wouldn't start him. I think David Montgomery is clearly the better option on that team. Next game here, we have the Broncos at the LA Superchargers. You're going to be starting up Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon for the Chargers. Now, I know last week, Melvin Gordon, I told you to sit him. If you started him, he put up that goose egg, didn't he really touch the field? But this week, This week he's got that full week in practice. He is going to slam the Broncos with such force, the force of 1,000 suns. He is going to the fucking Broncos right there, dead on the field. Going to leave the Broncos dead. Melvin Gordon going to have a good game. Austin Eckler also going to have a good game. I think it's going to be more of a 50-50 split this game. Maybe even a split in Eckler's favor, potentially. This game, they're going to be ranked in the rankings video right next to each other. I think they're both have a solid game against the Broncos. Now, Phillip Lindsay for the Broncos is a start. Am I nervous that Rolls-Royce Freeman was catching a bunch of passes last week? Yes. Am I nervous that Rolls-Royce Freeman may end up being the starter in the game? Or not the starter, but getting a lot of touches in the game? Yes. But Phillip Lindsay, at the end of the day, he's that pass-catching back. He should be able to get those passes to help you in PPR formats, to help you win your matchup. I like Phillip Lindsay as an okay start this week. Next game here, we have the Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. The game from the playoffs a couple of years ago where Aaron Rodgers just dotted up the Cowboys defense and won the game. You're going to be starting up Aaron Jones for the Packers. Aaron Jones hasn't looked all that great. The Cowboys defense doesn't look all that great against the run. I think Aaron Jones should be able to benefit in this game and actually get the ball. Now, Jamal Williams got knocked the fuck out. Now, I know we don't make fun of injuries. I hope that Jamal Williams is okay, but at the end of the day, Aaron Jones is going to be the sole back. Going to look good. Ezekiel Elliott on the Cowboys must start every single week. Any given Sunday, Thursday, Monday, Saturday, towards the end of the season, Ezekiel Elliott is a start in fantasy football. So that's pretty easy for that. Now, the Colts are playing the Chiefs. This is going to be a high-scoring matchup. Every game the Chiefs are in is a high-scoring matchup. Their defense, Swiss cheese. Jacoby Brissett going to be able to dot them up. But Jacoby Brissett doesn't have much to do with this running back fucking sit-start video. So you're going to be starting Marlon Mack if he plays. If he plays, you start Marlon Mack. But you want to know what? If you want to get a bit sneaky, you may be able to play Naheem Hines in this matchup. He's a pass-catching back. Will be able to catch the ball. If Marlon Mack is out, he might be a start. Now, for the Chiefs, this gets a bit complicated. You start LaShawn McCoy. If LaShawn McCoy seemed pretty healthy last week, you start him. Damian Williams, if he's healthy, you start him. And then Darrell Williams. If Damian Williams is out, then you start him. If Damian Williams is in, you sit Darrell Williams. It's pretty complicated. It's probably going to look like this for the next couple of weeks if Damian Williams is not healthy. Next game we have here is the Browns at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, we are going to be starting up Mr. Full Chubb last week. He was fully erect, jamming down the Baltimore Ravens. He looked great, amazing. It was just beautiful. He just running the ball like it was his goddamn job, because it is his job, just storming the beaches of Baltimore, destroying them. Nick Chubb should be pretty good against the 49ers. Now, the 49ers run defense is pretty good, but I think that Nick Chubb should be able to eviscerate them. He's like one of the best players on the fucking field. Odell seems to not be doing much. It's going to be the Nick Chubb show again against the 49ers, in my opinion. Now, we are going to be starting Mostert, but he's got the If Tevin Coleman plays, I think what you do in this situation, if Tevin Coleman decides to come into the game, what you do is just bench all of them. Maybe play Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida. Otherwise, I'm just benching everyone. Mostert is a start if Tevin Coleman's out. Matt Breida's a start if Tevin Coleman's out. And I'm not starting Jeff Wilson unless you're fucked at running back. Jeff Wilson is just a goal line back. If they on the 1 yard line, Jeff Wilson's going to score. Can you depend on that against the Browns defense that is pretty good? Probably not. And that was the final game. That is the final game on this slate. I'm not sure if that's the Monday night game. It may be. I don't even remember. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you chuckled, at any point you enjoyed, click that subscribe button. Make sure to check out my sponsor, OverlayDFS.com. Make sure to have a great day. Make sure to come back for the more videos. Make sure to just be amazing, because you are all amazing. I love you all. Goodbye.